it's insane. So the reason why I bring this stuff up is this is a big deal, right? The Olympics have now been postponed. I can't even remember the last time that had to happen. But the lady we have with us on the line right now, wow, what an athlete and what a career. Her name is Shannon Miller, former gymnast. She was actually a part of that Magnificent Seven team, the 1996 gold medal Olympic champions. She was the 93-94 world all-around champion, 96 Olympic balance beam champion, and she is known by many, and rightfully so, as the most decorated U.S. gymnast, male or female, with a total of 7 Olympic medals. Shannon Miller. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, it's great to be with you. I hate to do this to you, but there's 2 Shannon Millers, and there's Shannon Miller, the Olympic gymnast, and then there's me, Shannon Miller, the Olympic hockey coach, ice hockey coach. And so I'm pleased to do an interview with you today, but I apologize that you thought I was the gymnast.
I apologize for that. That was completely 100% my mistake. I guess the first question I want to ask you is this. What do you make of the Olympics being postponed? What do you make of the Olympics in 2020 not happening? This is a big deal, right, for all athletes throughout the world. What do you make of that? What's your reaction to that?
Well, you know, it's unbelievable, really, because the world, okay, so the Olympic Games have been canceled. The Summer and the Winter Olympic Games have been canceled many times due to war, World War I, World War II.
Right.
But they've never been canceled or postponed due to anything else other than a war. But world events do affect the Olympic Games, whether it's political, terrorist attacks, or in this case, the coronavirus pandemic. So world events do affect the Olympic Games, and they should affect the Olympic Games, but it's always been a world war.
Right.
So obviously you've had experience with this, given you had the World Ice Hockey Championships where you guys were over in the Far East, and you had to actually, from a team standpoint and as a coach, had to face what's going on here.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm sure people remember back in 2003 in China where the SARS virus hit. Mm-hmm. And the whole world did not go on lockdown, but a lot of the people that had been in China, whether they were Chinese people living in China or people that had traveled to China for business or traveled to China for sports, had to go on a self-quarantine. For example, so I was coaching college hockey in Duluth, Minnesota. We had just won several NCAA championships in a row. I had players there playing for me from around the world. They had come from Finland, Sweden, Switzerland, et cetera. And I had Americans and Canadians, of course, on my team, too, at UMD in Duluth, Minnesota. And all these gals jumped on an airplane, and many of them flew to China to compete at the 2003 World Ice Hockey Championships. Mm-hmm. Sweden, for example, got there. They were there for a few days. They played an exhibition game, and that's when the SARS virus had hit. And so the players from Team Sweden flew back. The players from Team Finland flew back. I had a girl from Switzerland over in China as well with Team Switzerland. She flew back to Duluth, Minnesota. The Canadians and the Americans did not leave, though. They did not leave North America. They met for training camps but had not flown to China. They were unsure if they were going to go because of the SARS virus, so they didn't go. But when all the Europeans came back to Minnesota, we had to quarantine them. We met them at the airport. We gave them cars and houses and food, and they had to be quarantined away from the rest of the athletes on our college team, obviously, as well as the community. So we have had a little bit of similar experience, but certainly not to this magnitude.
So you played in the first Canadian National Championships, correct me if I'm wrong, back in 1982, and then in 1998, you guys were able to capture the silver medal in ice hockey, which is a tremendous accomplishment. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about that experience and what was that like back then, and then I want you to talk to me a little bit about right now, when you look at all these hockey players right now that are prepared to play in the 2020 Olympics, what do you think they're going through?
Well, exactly. So I think what's important is, I'll take the first part of your question in a second. What's important about the 2020 Olympics is that it's been postponed, not canceled. So the wars in the past, World War I and World War II, canceled the Olympic Games. In this situation, there's still a beacon of hope, that light, that Olympic flame at the end of the tunnel, but they've just been postponed for 1 year, and Tokyo, Japan will still host the Summer Olympics. So that's the good news. They haven't been canceled. They've just been postponed. I've got a lot of experience traveling around the world, coaching at World Ice Hockey Championships. I played in the 1980s and early 90s, and then I started coaching with Team Canada early to mid-1990s, and been, like I said, traveling around the world and dealing with all kinds of political unrest and events, global events that happen that affect sporting events as well. I did coach at the 1998 Olympic Games. I was the first woman in the world to be a head coach of an Olympic hockey team. It was Team Canada that I coached. I'm a dual citizen, American and Canadian. I was coaching Team Canada at the time, and those Olympics the Winter Olympics were in Japan. So that's pretty cool. Yep. And we came back from that with a silver medal. It's heartbreaking in a way because you always go for gold if you're Team Canada or Team USA.
But you won gold, right? In 97, you were the head coach of the Canadian national, right? And you won in 97 the gold, correct?
That's right. Yeah, we won 3 world championship gold medals heading into the Olympic Games.
So Shannon, can I ask you? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I have to ask you this again because I think this is really important. Imagine if you're the head coach of one of these teams and you have all your players ready to go, right? Just the psychological aspect of being told, sorry, ladies, sorry, men, we're going to have to postpone the Olympics. I mean, how does that affect the training, the thought process? Can you just take me through how that could have affected you just as a coach?
Well, for sure it does. First of all, we have to keep it in perspective because people are dying. People have died, and many people are at home, and they're worried about catching it and dying. And unless I'm wrong, I woke up this morning and saw the news, and it said 3,000 Americans had died over Easter weekend. And so imagine that must affect 60, 70, 80,000 people when you think about family members and friends. So I always, when I speak of this, I want to put it in perspective. Yes, it's a huge dream. I mean, people need to understand that these athletes and coaches and athletic trainers, everybody that's involved, they do nothing else but this. This is their life. Representing their country, they do it with great pride and determination, and they pretty much give up everything else in their life and risk a lot to go and represent their country. How it will affect, especially the athletes, psychological, like you mentioned, but also age. Okay, you peak at certain times. You train to peak, and you're in macro cycles and microcycles, and you want to peak at the right time. There are athletes that are going to probably be too old because they will have peaked this summer, for example, and they will not maybe make
that's a good point.
And be able to participate next year. And that's sad, and that's beyond tragic for those people. It really is, because this is their life. But what it does is it does open up the door for somebody younger to come in. So it's a double-edged sword where it's really going to affect some people in a bad way, and others it will give them new life.
Well, especially when you've got someone from a country where the virus hasn't hit as aggressively as another country, and then you have the misinformation being spread. Whereas when the Olympics were canceled for war, that was a present, a very very tangible threat. Where in this case you can't really see it. You hear about it. You may have some experience with it, but I imagine training for your life to be involved in the Olympics, and then to have something that you can't really quantify take that away from you. That has to be extremely psychologically difficult.
Oh, for sure that it would be. And the good news is most of these Olympic athletes, if not all of them, and coaches and people involved have professional sports psychologists, or they work with a professional psychologist. So those psychologists will be busy, that's for sure, right now, and in helping them adjust and prepare for this postponement, to not be able to compete and be your best. Yeah. For a year away, and still for all of us, right around the world, everything's up in the air.
Yeah, Shannon, we talked a little bit about your playing career. I just want to mention this because your coaching record is just unreal. You're 383 and 144. I wonder if you can find any NHL coach out there that has a record like that. But I want to ask you a little bit.
70%.
It's pretty damn good. I want to ask you a little bit about the NHL, because I would imagine you probably know some people that play professional hockey in the NHL, maybe coaches, maybe scouts, maybe players. I don't think there's going to be an NHL season. I just don't see it happening. And in the miracle that it does, I just don't see any fans in attendance. What do you know? What have people told you? Do you think there's going to be an NHL season?
No, I agree with you. I do not think there's going to be an NHL season, nor do I think there should be. I think that it's much bigger than this. It's much bigger than all of us. And I agree with you. I don't think there will be one. I do know NHL coaches, players, etc. I'm a huge Las Vegas Knights fan, of course, season tickets, and I've gone to a lot of their practices and games. But, yeah, sadly, I think we're in a new era right now, a new time, and it's not going to happen.
As a coach, I have to ask you this question since you're a Knights fan. What did you think about our coach getting fired midseason, the way that all went down from a coach's perspective? I was surprised. What did you think?
Oh, I was not only surprised, I was shocked, absolutely shocked, and so disappointed. He was doing such a great job. He did a great job building his staff and his team and coming out of the gate so strong and being consistently good. Yeah, you might have a week here and a week there where you're not so strong, but my God, that's normal. In life, in sport, any team, men's or women's. He was doing a phenomenal job, and it blew me away, and I was angered, really, to be honest with you, as a coach, that someone that successful and such a great guy would be treated that way.
Yeah, I didn't like the move at all. I'm sure our new coach. I'm assuming hopefully he'll be successful. But Gallant, I agree with you. By the way, fantastic hockey coach, and I think we were all surprised by that. Hey, I hope we're both wrong. To be honest with you, Shannon, when it comes to the NHL season, but I think we're both right. I don't think there's going to be a season, and if there's anything, it's not going to involve fans. There's certainly no question about that. Shannon, I really do appreciate you taking some time to join us. Congratulations on all your success in the world of hockey, and hopefully this Olympics will happen in 2021, but I guess everything is still up in the air right now. But we really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. That's our beacon of hope. Everybody take care. Thanks.
All right, there you go.
Thanks a lot, Shannon.
Shannon Miller, what a great playing career she had, and also gold medalist and fantastic coach in her own right.
Wildly successful career at Minnesota Duluth as a coach.
Oh, the credentials are unbelievable. 11 Frozen Four tournament wins, and by the way, 5 national championships.
Yep.
You're not going to find a more decorated coach.
And she's a Las
hockey.
Vegas local.
Yes, she is.
And I heard she won a gold medal in the Olympics too.